So welcome everyone to another episode of Accounting for Old Cars, and something a bit different today. You join me in Mia. Mia is my 2008 Mark III MX-5, and just give you a little sort of look at Mia very quickly. This is the driver's eye view. Get out and show you a little bit more of her. This is my concession to modern cars and modern motoring, and the reason that I'm in the MX-5 today is because I've had a bit of a flog down the motorway, or actually a number of motorways, to get to this place. And for car buffs the world over, they'll recognise this as the Motor Heritage Museum at Gaydon. It's not an event day as such. I've just turned up here midweek, and although it's a beautiful day, we're actually going indoors. Now I'm going to sort of take some selective footage of some of the exhibits that particularly interest me, but I won't be providing a live commentary. I'll try to feed in a little bit of information as we go. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this, and well, let me know in the comments what you think. See you in a second when we're inside. Right, well, we're coming into the main entrance of the museum. Behind us is the building which houses the Jaguar collection. And the first car we come into the lobby is this wonderful 105E Ford Anglia. So fans of Harry Potter will obviously recognise this car, but it's complemented by this wonderful six-cylinder Mark II Ford Zodiac, and I just love the sort of Art Deco tail fins and the duotone paintwork in this car. Bench seat, column change, very much Americana, and as you can see here, this is a 1961 model. Next to this is the four-wheel drive Ford Capri. I'd never even heard of this car, and I have to say, in spite of its mechanical ability, clearly this is one of the most beautiful looking Capris. Next to it, last of the big executive Granadas, or proper Granadas as I saw it. We had a selection, obviously, of rally cars, but the car that caught my eye was this fabulous four-wheel drive Sierra Cosworth, and this one from 1992. Fantastic car. Followed by one of the very first prototype Land Rovers, and whenever I think of Land Rover, this is really what comes to mind. Just beautifully simple. This one is a fabulous shade of green, and I would like one of these very, very much. For mini fans, one of the very first Morris Minor minis. I think the Austin version was the Austin 7, but the interior is just so simple and functional. Again, painted grille, and there's a little mock-up of a pre-war garage. We're looking at a Triumph Mayflower there, and coming into the main hall, this is where a lot of the prototypes are housed, and this is the Road Rover, a forerunner of the Range Rover. The exhibits we're going to see really highlight just how innovative and cutting-edge Rover were as a car company. This is the sort of P6 version. I think this is the T4 turbine car.
It looks at a glance like a P6, but you see the details like the boot, which has the lip at the back and it's got a very low front to it. Example of turbine engine. This one, in this case, actually from Austin in 1961. So car companies like Austin, Rover, Chrysler are all thinking about turbine technology. The shape of this car, just fantastic, and what it must have been like to drive, goodness only knows. So again, you can pause the video to read a little bit of the script here, but this is the collaboration with BRM, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous shape. No exhibit would be complete without a Ford Cortina, it's Mark V, and then the last of the Wolseleys. And I think actually this is my favourite colour scheme here, but I think I'm right in saying there was only 1 year of manufacture for the Wolseleys before the brand was lost forever. First of the Jaguars that we can see, and I just love the colour of this car. It's my idea of a proper Jaguar. The thing looks fast even standing still, and then you can see the next iteration, the XK 120 coupe, beautifully patinated, this example. And then we're looking at the racing version, the C-type Jaguar. Again, you can get a sense looking in the cockpit of just how uncomfortable it must have been racing these cars, but the shape is just wonderful. And I guess designers like Malcolm Sayer, who had come from the aero industry, were really responsible for setting the scene for Jaguars to come. So mid-engined variant here. Again, just beautiful, beautiful lines and a hint of E-type in the tail of this one. One of my favourite marques, the Alvis, and this one, which I think is the last model with its stacked headlights, the T21, forerunner of the Triumph Herald, little standard 8, and I love the simplicity of these cars. No opening boot lid, and again next to it, sort of Triumph forerunner, if you like, the car that Sir John Black thought would take America by storm as a mini Rolls-Royce, the ill-fated Triumph Mayflower. So to get to the boot of a standard 8, you had to lower the back seat. Armstrong Siddeley with this Sphinx hood ornament, another elegant car, but by the 1960s, the mass-produced Jaguars meant it was all over for car companies like Armstrong Siddeley and Alvis. Got a Ford prefect there. Very early low-light Morris Minor, just as Isigonis wanted it to be. Beautiful car. And then we get another look at the Cyclops Rover P4 and how distinctive the back end of that car was. This is one of my favourite pre-war sports cars, not the MG, but actually a Singer, Le Mans, and I love everything about this car. And I think if I had the chance to own a pre-war sports car, it wouldn't be the MGT series, which we'll look at in a second, but it would be this beautiful little Singer. I think these cars are exquisite, and I wish there were more of them. Now we can look at the MGs. By contrast, the car that made America fall in love with British sports cars, complete with its full-down air screens. Very, very pretty. And MGB GTs divide opinion, or divide themselves sometimes. And this is an example of the ingenuity of the marketing and engineering departments. Great fun. Little Morgan. And then the Lynx, the car that Triumph should have built, many people think, and didn't. I've got to be honest and say that I'm not so sure about that one myself. I chose this one. This is one of Isigonis's own creations. He was a keen racing driver, which a lot of people don't seem to know, and this was one of his. A very snug fit, I would say, but fascinating little car. This is the Vauxhall Heritage collection on the mezzanine floor. As you can see, you've got examples of Crestas, and there's a sort of entire lineage really from the 50s right the way through to the 1990s on this floor. But the one I wanted to look at was the HB Viva GT. And I think this is probably one of the prettiest cars from the 1970s. I really, really like these. The GT and, of course, the Brabham, but the contrasting stripes with this sort of fire red or fire engine red paintwork. We're looking here at one of the very earliest Vauxhalls, the Prince Henry, and you would have seen these charging around Brooklands back in the 20s. Really the sort of rival, I guess, to the early Bugattis and even Bentleys. You know, Vauxhall was synonymous with performance in those days. And it's just lovely to see one here in the museum. But this car is a sort of golfing model, so designed to take your golf clubs sideways behind the seat, and perfect thing to run out to the local golf course and impress your friends and fellow club members. This car is a Swallow Austin 7, so again, sort of forerunner of Jaguar. Austin 7 Special Racer, absolutely miniature, but looks like the very best fun ever, and in stunning condition. Again, bit agricultural, but huge fun. And we're now in the other building, and of course we're now with Thumper, the VTES 6. Thank you to some of my friends on Facebook. I've discovered that Thumper was donated by Dawn, its last owner, and I think the restoration, from what I can gather from the correspondence I've had from other people, is over sort of 40 years old, but she looks magnificent, complete with a Webasto sunroof. Naturally, this is my favourite car in the collection, and this being a rather late VTES 6, has the rev counter in the dashboard. Styling exercise by Michelotti, sort of based on what would become the Triumph Dolomite. Interesting position of door handles, unmistakably Michelotti design, but apparently sporting tail lights from the TR6, which of course was a Carman design, and it appears to have a sort of Carman tail to it from the TR6. Here we're looking at the Dolomite Sprint as produced, which is a purer design in my view, and definitely the better version. Triumph 1500, anyone? The car that a lot of people tell me was sort of the inspiration for the Citroens. A lot of people mourn the fact this wasn't produced by Triumph. I think it's the ugliest car I've seen, and I for one am sort of fairly glad that they didn't build this. I'm afraid, chaps, I don't see the attraction. TR7, wow. The car they should have built with the soft top, beautiful. Love the colour scheme, gold and dark brown hood. One of my favourites, the Mark II GT6, and lovely to see this car wearing steel wheels and hubcaps. This is obviously, as I say, the bone-in-mouth version with the raised bumper, lovely Vitesse style spoke steering wheel. Roundtail GT6, definitely my favourite version of this car. And here we have something slightly different, different take on the TR7, this prototype. Rover SD rear end. Does it improve the design? Well, sorry guys, not for me. What I'm not sure about is whether the car is actually wider, but when you compare it with Michelotti's final Triumph, well, I say final Triumph, final original design, Stag, I don't think there's any comparison. MG prototype here, this again, an interesting car which reminds me of the Jaguar XK8. So I don't know whether there was a link between them. Triumph 1300, another Michelotti design, beautiful, beautiful car, and I would really like one of these. I think I prefer one of those to a Dolomite actually. There's something about the design which I find to be completely pure. So the MG DR2 is the one we were looking at just now. This is obviously another Rover, which just goes to show that they built sports cars or sporting cars back in the day. Look at the fastback on this one. Reminds me of a sort of grown-up Riley. Going to move past the Wolseley to the Marauder. And yeah, this is a pretty special car. It sort of looks a bit like a cut and shut Cyclops, but I love it. It's very much of its sort of 50s era. Elegant but simple dash, very comfortable bench seat. Ill-fated Austin Atlantic, again the car that Austin sort of thought, rather like Triumph Mayflower, that the Americans would fall in love with, and if it had been able to climb the hills in San Francisco, I think it probably would have been more of a success. Another Rover, again you get the sense of the sort of sporting saloons. Morris Oxford, for people who think it's a grown-up Morris Minor, There are lots of styling cues which are similar, but obviously the proportions are very different. And for Triumph aficionados, this being the last Triumph badge car, the Triumph Acclaim, but people of my era, this is very much Honda rather than Triumph. But nonetheless, very good car. I've driven one, and yeah, they're nice cars to drive. So we're looking down into the workshop of the Jaguar Heritage Centre here, and you can see this is a fully operational workshop. There's quite a lot of activity on the afternoon that I visited. It's a fascinating place. One of the last cars to look at is the Rover SD1 estate version, and I think this would have been an interesting idea. I can't say I like the way they've executed the back end of it, but as a concept, having an estate version, I'm sure there would have been a market for that. I think about the sort of 5 Series BMWs of the 1980s, you know, the estate or touring versions there. Here we have a selection of Jaguars, SS cars. These, again, sort of give a sense of the sporting nature of Jaguars. My favourite of the SS Jaguars, this one. I can very much see myself in this. And Suffolk Sports Cars, sadly, which was put out of business, I think, by a dispute with Jaguar Land Rover, made wonderful replicas of the car we've just looked at. Again, XK120s. I think that's a 140. And this one is the most famous of the E-Type Jaguars, driven by the Jaguar test driver Norman, whose surname I have forgotten, unforgivable of me. This car had to be driven from Coventry to the Geneva Motor Show pretty much in a 24-hour period to get it on the stand, and was then driven back. Norman Dewis, sorry Norman, one of the great heroes of the British motor industry. We're looking here at a Jaguar Mark 7 which belonged to the Queen Mother. Very hard to believe that these sometimes go herring around Goodwood on the revival weekend. I think one of these is owned and driven by Rowan Atkinson. My favourite iteration of the XJ6, the first, and for me the pure. Wonderful car, and of course part of a wonderful collection of Jaguars and Daimlers, which I hope will remain protected by the trustees of the collection. There is some uncertainty, I think, over the Jaguar marque as a whole, but hopefully these cars, rather like the Vauxhall Heritage Collection, are all in the very best possible place and cared for by the very best possible people. Yeah, wonderful day here at Gaydon, and I feel very lucky to have been able to spend this time here.
So I hope you enjoy this little outing with me to the British Motor Heritage Museum at Gaydon. You'll have seen in this film I've picked out my favourite cars rather than try to give you a full tour of the museum. I really recommend, if you have the time, come along and have a look for yourself, because it is a fabulous place. In the meantime, I will see you in my next video, and at that point I'll probably be back in one of the Triumphs. But until then, from me and from Mia, my little MX-5, take care, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. A lot quieter than a Triumph. In case you're wondering, this is why I'm in Mia and not one of the Triumphs today. High temperatures, very slow moving traffic, not conducive to old straight 6-cylinder engines. Yeah, very glad I chose this car. Anyway, we'll be back in Suffolk eventually and back to normality.